don't tell anyone. But you're listening to the best kept business secret and his podcast, dedicated to helping you understand the successful business secrets that others don't want you to know, making no secret of success. Now, here's your host and quite possibly the best kept business secret anywhere, Mark Ford.
Hello again and welcome to your Best Kept Business Secret podcast with me, your host, Mark Ford, quite possibly your best kept business secret. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. This is episode 51, and what a way to start the next half century off. Oh my God, we have got a two-part podcast. This is the first part of an interview with a chap called Ken Schmidt. Now, if you're not a motorcyclist, you're unlikely to know this guy's name. But last year, he wrote an amazing book. It's had an amazing influence on me. And do you know what? Not only has he written this book, he played a pivotal part in turning around one of the biggest companies on the globe. Ken Schmidt is the former director of communications with Harley-Davidson Motor Company, and he is here in a two-part interview talking to you about how you, as the business owner, as an entrepreneur, can make some noise and make sure that your customers and your clients see your marketing. So, here's the first part of that interview.
Fireflies, I'm killing little pieces. Feeds the dying light and brings me back to life. In your eyes, I see something to believe in. Your hands are like a flame. Your palms are sweet as pain.
Joining me today is Ken Schmidt as the former director of communications for Harley-Davidson Motor Company. He played a pivotal role in one of the most celebrated turnarounds in corporate history and got paid to ride motorbikes. How cool is that? He is widely known and respected as one of the business world's most outspoken, provocative, and entertaining thought leaders on competition, brand management, positioning, reputation management, human behavior, and loyalty. Is there nothing this man can't do? And he has done more than 1,000 keynote speeches to business and education groups around the globe. His new book, which I have listened to from cover to cover, if you can listen to something from cover to cover several times, Make Some Noise, The Unconventional Road to Dominance, teaches how to improve businesses and personal competitiveness, and is shared from his, as very always, extraordinary, unexpected point of view. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ken Schmidt. Thank you so much for doing this, my man.
Quite welcome, Mark. Boy, that was a heck of an intro. That's an impressive guy you were just talking about. I'm like, wow, if I didn't know him, I wouldn't have believed any of that.
I've got to be honest, dude. I ripped most of it from your website. So let's be fair.
I probably wrote it then.
You did. I know. That's how good you are.
No wonder it sounded so good.
Absolutely. Man, look, I'm not a biker, but I always thought that Harley-Davidson was possibly the pinnacle of the motorbike industry. I need to ask you, why were so many people negative about them and your brand?
Well, that's a great question. Well, first of all, there's always going to be people who dislike or just decide that they are going to not support someone that is extremely famous and extremely popular. So you're going to get sort of that anti, I don't want to like you just because other people do. And that's people outside the bike industry. Inside the biking industry, people that ride motorcycles tend to either absolutely adore Harley-Davidson and all that it stands for and all that it represents, or see that as something that they want absolutely nothing to do with because that's not the way they see themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Some people just don't prescribe or don't follow and get excited about what a company like Harley represents. And to me, that's awesome. I love the fact that there are haters out there because that just makes the passionate people all the more passionate and more defensive of the company, of the brand.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know this is going to sound really random. I became a really big fan. We're talking about motorbikes here, guys. And honestly, I'd love to own a moped, let alone a motorbike. One of the biggest things that I kind of felt, in an odd way, I kind of associated with Harley-Davidson was the TV program Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Genuinely, did a program like that help you, or did that just I don't know, solidify the negative feeling towards motorbikers, really?
I'm sure there was a little bit of both, but I can say this with absolute certainty. Anything that promotes motorcycling to the masses, whether it's, criminal activity like on Sons of Anarchy, whether it's racing, whether they're, bikes just showing up in a comedy or Schwarzenegger riding a Harley in the Terminator, anything that gets people interested in motorcycling is ultimately good for Harley-Davidson. And I don't think you'd have to, do a lot of research to determine that there are people that are still afraid of, the mostly imaginary criminal bike element on motorcycles, but there are also a lot of people who get really charged up and excited by that. And there are a lot of people in the biking community, in the Harley riding community, that sort of like the fact that when they roll into town or roll up to a stop sign on their motorcycle, that people may be misjudging them as somehow part of a criminal element, when really they're a dentist. So they get to feel kind of cool and different for a while. And that's really appealing.
Yeah, I get that. There was in a very former life, and this is really true. In a very former life, I used to be a driving instructor and ran a very large driving school. And I always used to chuckle on a Sunday morning whenever he used to take if a student, as a great example, used to have a driving test on a Monday morning, first thing. I'd take him out on a Sunday, just get him used to it, calm down the nerves and all that sort of stuff. It was amazing how many middle-aged men would suddenly get on a motorbike who would probably been working in a bank between 9 and 5 on Monday to Friday, and would suddenly just throw caution to the wind and start trying to overtake on blind bends when they possibly knew that it wasn't the most sensible thing in the world in any shape or form. And you suddenly get this idea of who these people are, but then you have to remind yourself that you're right. They probably are a dentist, or they probably are a banker, or they probably are, an executive somewhere, and they suddenly just throw caution to the wind because they're on a set of two wheels with a great big engine between their legs.
And it's exciting and fun, and they see others doing it. And that's one of the kind of most powerful things of motorcycling is everybody wants to get better and push themselves. And if they see somebody else flying through that 90-degree turn at high speed, well, they just assume they can do it too. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more you push yourself to do even crazier stuff.
Absolutely. So it's really interesting because you just use the phrase there, sort of like, getting better. You kick off the book talking about also-rans and the also-ran types of businesses. Tell us what you mean by that and what they kind of look like and they act like compared to the really successful businesses, which you call the dominators.
Right. Well, if you look at any market, Mark, for anything that's being sold or produced or made or brought to market, there's always going to be someone at the very top, or, a few players at the very top. Those are your dominators, the people who do things extraordinarily well, promote themselves well, market themselves well, do a tremendous job of building loyalty among their customers and their suppliers and all the other partners. And then there's everybody else. Those are the also-rans, and also-rans make up the vast majority of the business world. People who are good at what they do, really good at what they do, just not good at competing, just sort of going through the motions of business and focusing the lion's share of their efforts on all the wrong stuff. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about wrong stuff, to me, and you probably see this all the time and hear this all the time with the businesses that you work with, what are most businesses focused on? And they will tell you being more efficient, being lean, lowering expenses, making things, faster, bringing things to market faster. Everything's about efficiency, and all that's great, but nobody in the marketplace cares about that. Nobody makes their decision to buy or not buy based on, a business's efficiencies, because guess what? Everybody's got it. Your internal knitting means nothing to me. What I do care about is what you do for me. So, the outward looking business versus the inward looking business tends to be the more dominant business, the one that is making the effort to connect with customers and potential customers, be a source of delight for those people, and keep them coming back. Those are your dominators.
Okay. So there's a theme that runs through your book, and I kept picking up on it all the way through. And although it's not quite overt, it's just a theme that I spoke about yesterday when I was keynoting somewhere yesterday. And one of those themes that runs through the book is listening. How important is it to listen? And who should you be listening to?
That's a wonderful question, because people take listening for granted.
Yeah.
And and I'm sure you see this too as leaders. A big part of my job is listening to my people. And then you scratch your head and say, well, bullshit. Then why is your business doing so poorly? Mm-hmm. It's listening is 25% of the equation. The other 75% is reacting. And by reacting, if you are talking to customers or potential customers, and you're asking them the kinds of questions as a business leader that you should be asking them, what would you like to see us do better? What could we do that would delight you in ways that our competitors aren't? And you're asking them those questions and then doing nothing with that information, which is sort of standard business practice. Yeah, that's really good input, and people don't do anything with it. If you're asking those kinds of questions, and the people that you're asking them to see you actually doing something with that information, see that you are listening because you're writing down their answers. You are commending them for their answers. Say, this is exactly the kind of input we need. Tell us more. And that is a person who's going to come back. That's how you foster support and loyalty. I'm not just listening. I'm reacting to what you're telling me. And what I always say, if I'm speaking to a meeting of 2,000 people, or if I'm consulting a small mom and pop, the money's in the reaction. When people know that they're being listened to, it's one of the most basic of human needs. I'm being listened to, and that makes me feel a little bit more important, makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Somebody's listening to and acting on what I am saying. Pow, that's got tremendous input. I can turn that inside too. When you have to be listening to the people that work with you and for you. I mean, everybody knows that people who work for a living hate being told what to do. Yeah, it's kind of counterhuman, but that's how most. Here's your job. Here's the requirements of your job. Here's what you need to do today. Bang, 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 and people do it, but they don't feel good about it. Versus, how would you like to do this? What would you think would be a better way for you to do your job every day? And if that person is, again, being listened to and that input's being taken seriously, they're going to stick around. They're going to continue to offer up input, because the people on the front lines of business, the people that are customer facing, the people that are on the phone talking to customers, the people that are talking to suppliers, they know what's going on in the business. They know what's going on in the trenches. And if their input's not being sought and acted upon, they don't feel important. They'll go somewhere else to work.
It kind of leads me really nicely into the next question, actually, because there's a great chapter title you use, which is "Your industry didn't change, neither did you, but we did." What do you mean by that? Because that almost, your last answer almost just leads really naturally into that. I think I might know where you're going with it a little bit.
It's kind of human nature, I guess, for people to make excuses about why their business isn't as competitive as it could be, or why it's slumping, or why they have to compete on price, which is essentially suicide. your business. And if you ask people, and I literally do this every day, what are the biggest challenges facing your business, whether it's a mom and pop or 100,000 employee conglomerate? And the answer I get every time, Mark, is, well, our market has changed.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why would you say that? I mean, what do you mean your market has changed? So fundamentally, what you're doing right now would have been working great 5 years ago. If it's not working now, that means the market changed. So what are markets? Markets are people, right? That's all of us. We change every day. We adopt a technology. That's every single one of us, goes online and buys things using price, as our buying criteria.
Mm-hmm.
But businesses hate it when we hate when our customers shop on price, even though we all do it. So let's say markets are us. This is who we are. The market's not some invisible, or it isn't some kind of tangible, bendable, moldable thing. And it's something that can be blamed for something that you're not doing, right? Markets are people. And if we are, as a business, focused on that, stop making excuses for why we're not doing better in the marketplace, and instead turn that back into what can we be doing better to serve and delight people? What would I need to see every day as a potential customer that would make me want to do business with us? And if we're blaming the market and saying the market has changed for our business being slow or not as successful as it would be, what we're really saying is that we as a business haven't changed to keep up with what all of us as people are, sort of evolving toward. We all want things faster, cheaper, easier, better. And businesses that do that or that interrupt that cycle become better known and more demanded.
There's a great phrase that I use on many a keynote, and I think it rings true in this case as well, is that there are many business owners that forget this one phrase, is that your business is not about you. It starts with you. And I think it's really powerful when it comes to the fact that you are absolutely right. There are so many people that blame their customers for changing. We've always done it this way. So it doesn't matter. What worked last week might not work now. You really have to remember that actually your business, whether it's being a solopreneur or a big multinational business, international business, hundreds of thousands of employees, guess what? It's not about you. The most important person on your payroll is your customer, is your client. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I couldn't agree more. What you probably heard listening to my book was a lot of the discussion. A lot of my focus is on sort of taking advantage of basic human behavior and leveraging these basic drivers of behavior that are common to all of us for competitive advantage. And sort of the bedrock of that is the notion that every human being on the planet sees himself or herself as the center of the universe. That's the only way we can perceive life, can perceive business, can perceive anything, is every thought that we have, every feeling that we have, or any experience that we have is thought about, felt, or experienced relative to how it impacts me, the center of the universe. And when you as a business owner or somebody in a business are talking about yourself and your business, here's what we stand for, here's what we represent, here's our mission statement, and here's our vision statement. And you're thinking, what does any of that have to do with me? Which is why I always tell people is nobody believes what you say about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can put a tremendous amount of belief, though, in what other people tell us. So if you are...
And that's it for this particular podcast. Yes, I told you it was 2 parts, didn't I? I did indeed. So you're going to have to listen to the next part. There's already some knowledge bombs that he's dropped in front of you for you to take away and go and use in your business. But I'm telling you right now, the second part of the interview has got more knowledge bombs in than I absolutely know what to do with. And that will be out next week. Guys, if you want more information on Ken, go and have a look in the show notes. If you want some free stuff, if you want to boost your business, get more customers and clients in 30 days, go over to my website, which is www.markford.uk, and go and get access to the brand new online course that's on my website, helping you get more of the ideal customers and the ideal clients for your business. And do you know what? That's it. That's enough. I've got to be honest, thrown enough at you. I will see you very, very soon. If you love the show, go and give us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to the podcast. If you don't like the show, shut the hell up, and I will see you on the other side. I am Mark Ford. I'm your best kept business secret. Go out, be bloody brilliant, and I will see you very soon.
Shh, don't tell anyone. But you're listening to the best kept business secret and his podcast, dedicated to helping you understand the successful business secrets that others don't want you to know, making no secret of success.